to the Chatterbox Show. Yes, it's been a while we didn't posted something, so we come back again with the topic a National Education Policy 2020 because right now the there is a quite buzz about it and around the Hindi imposition by the southern part of India. The states like Tamil Nadu, even now the Maharashtra is increasing their voice more about the national education policy. So it's implemented in 2020 and it's been 5 years after their imposition. And why we are just again talking about the national education policy, we will discuss about it. And first of all, we will get to know about its history and what are the other national education policies could be known by the other names, and the what's major points on which the national education policy is different from them, and the what are the similar points, point of common, and the other the most prominent points on which the national education policy wants to take India to the future. Basically, it's about a vision how national education policy wants to guide India through the all the hurdles of the upcoming world, and then the issues on which the basically the oppositions are making the points, and how could we resolve all those issues. Basically, the national education policy 2020 is come after 34 years. It was come back in the days of 1992. It was modified, and even then it was the second one come taken out by the Rajiv Gandhi, and the first one which is initiated, which is called National Policy of Education, not a national education policy, it's a National Policy of Education 1986. Sorry, the 1986 one was taken by the Rajiv Gandhi, and the 1968 is the prominent and the first one. So let's talk about the history and the background of it. And then the 1968 was the year when the National Policy of Education was introduced. It was the Maulana Abdul Azad who was then India's education minister. So to make India's more future ready, and also how to make education more accessible to the students who is age around 14, basically the main focus on the students. So therefore they started making the commissions such as the University Education Commission, which was introduced in 1948-49, and later on they introduced the Secondary Education Commission in 1952 and 53, and the prominent one is the Kothari Commission. We all know about it. The Kothari Commission is the bedrock of the National Policy of Education, which is promulgated in 1968. The prominent feature of the National Policy of Education of then 1968 one is compulsory education for till age 14, and they want the three language formula in the secondary education, and also they want to introduce Sanskrit as the prominent language, not the prominent one. They wants to introduce it because the Sanskrit language itself contain a very cultural and heritage background in itself, so wants to uh, widen up the prospects of the Sanskrit. That's the reason. And also, after that, there are some reviews of the National Policy of Education, such as 1986, which is conducted by the Rajiv Gandhi, and later on 1992, in which the PV Narasimha Rao was the one who introduced the modification in it. So back in the days of 1968, we all know the free and compulsory education for all children up to 14 age, and improving status and trainings and implementation of three language, the uproar of all the issues of the current national education policies is started back in the days of 1968. They didn't said anything till now, and now they are making the issues. So, and also the prominent thing is the allocation of 6% of GDP to the education, which is we didn't fulfill till now. It is up to 2.9% right now. So we think we will work, but till now there is nothing. In about the national education policy of 1986 one, it was introduced by the Rajiv Gandhi, which he primarily focused on giving the education to the socially backward and also the economically backward people, about the SC, STs, and more specifically to the women. And in back in that era, the IGNU were started, and all the open universities are started there, and also again they start focusing on the 6% and when expenditure on education back then also. And also in 1992, with, by the PY Narasimha Rao, they make again focus on the 14-year age criteria about the free and compulsory education. And right now they also initiate the privatization of the education back in the days of 1992 and back in the days of 1996, 86 and 68. All the education is mainly concentrated to the public expenditure and investments and the public entity. After the 1992, it was started to the private expenditure and the private sector participation in the educational development. And they also set a bar to create a 70% literacy rate by 2002. It was in the 2002, the right to education was exit from the DPSP and then shifted to the fundamental rights. So, and now we will discuss more about what is the National Education Policy 2020 really is. So basically in National Education Policy, we are focusing more on the holistic development of kid, the integration of him in the technology, and also allow him to study what he wants to study with the multidisciplinary section in it. And also the main focus is on the mother tongue till age grade till 3. The government wants the students to learn everything in the mother tongue, because even in by the scientific experiments, it confirms the children's get to know more and get grasp more things in their mother tongue. And also India wants to build their nation more solid, with a solid base, and national education policy wants students to be critical thinkers and also more practical based, and also wants to shift their source of knowledge through theoretical base apart from the books, focusing more on the vocational and the more practical things, such as, and also how we could use the technology as the base of our education. We all know the upcoming generation is going to be the age of AI and the robotics and everything about the technology. So we have to get ready our age students to more stable and more go through with the technology aspects of the world right now also. And the another part is India wants to become again, and India wants to regain its old heritage of Vishwaguru. India wants to open more, India wants to open the selected uh, international universities uh, in India, and also wants to open the gates for the international students, wants to but the main prominent thing about the national education policy is India wants to become a global hub of education rather than becoming a factory of just brains which we will sell out to the big nations like US and other European unions. So about the key objective of the national education policy is the holistic development, the universalization of education, increased public investment, and 21st century skills, multilingualism, and the cultural diversity. By the definition, by the meaning of holistic development, it means the nurturing of well all-round individual. Not only he is doing great only in sports, not only is only doing great in the academics. Nation wants his students to becoming all-round performers who can do well in the sports as well as in the academics, and even then become a prominent person who can do very better in the fields of vocations. And about the universalization of education, by the year of 2030, India wants his gross enrollment ratio to 100% for the secondary school, and for the higher studies by means the MScs and the MAs. By 2035, India wants to the 50% ratio to come back. Right now I guess I don't know the correct. And about the increasing the public investment, right now I already told you about the GDP. 2.9% of GDP is only spended on the education. From back in the days of 1968, we want to spend 6% of GDP, but we didn't fulfill that benchmark till now. So that's the prominent point we have to fill it out. And about the 21st century skills, we all know next big thing about the AIs. And the national education policy wants students to focusing more on developing critical thinkings, problem solving abilities, and creativity, and a digital literacy. Don't become a rote learner who just go into classes, mug it up all the things, and in the examination just vomit it out. We don't want those sort of uh, students anymore. About the multilingualism and the cultural diversity, and I already told you about the three language formula, where the first prominent language would be the mother tongue, and the second would be the English, and the third one is of the Hindi. That's the main point of contention by the opposition parties and the non-BJP states about why they want to impose Hindi as language to us, because the Tamil Nadu is already conducting the two language system in which they have their Tamil as a main language and a medium of instructions, and the English as a secondary language, say. And this always said about we don't need any Hindi and anything. So we will discuss more about it later, and right now we will focus on the key provisions and reforms of national education policy. The first one is the school education reforms. We all know that right now the Indian education systems based on the 10 plus 2 system, which the NEP wants to change into the 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 curricular framework. I know it's pretty difficult to understand. I will simplify for you. Basically, it will take you from age 3 to 18, in which they contribute all the sections of 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 wala contribution. And for the 3 years of Anganwadi, the first 5 years, it's basically divided into two parts. The first part is the 3 years and the second part is the 2 years. The first part, basically we all know it's already the nursery, LKG and UKG wala part, so which they transform into the 3 years of Anganwadi or a 3 years of pre-education, and then 2 years of grade 1 and grade 2. So in which they know this age is the crucial and most important years in which children could learn or grasp anything, they can learn anything. That's the reason the focusing on the mother tongue part is more focused in the early childhood care and education, which is basically the Anganwadi and the preschool settings. They also introduce the same thing, the early education care and education, in which I already told you, focusing more on a play and activity based approach and multi-level engagement, by which the student can learn more through a practical examples rather than writing or just learning. And it was the first. And another second point with for the 3 years, it was basically from the age 8 to age 11, basically the grade 3 to 5, in which the focusing more on the disciplines like science, humanities, the maths, the language. And also in the middle stage, in which we have the from age 11 to 14, again age grade 8 6 to 8, in which we focus on more and more about the which we already learned in the phase 2. It was the refined version of the phase 2 basically. And then the secondary stage, which basically again which was divided into two parts. The first part is 2 years and the second part is the 2 years. The 2 years part consists grade 9 and 10, and the second part, later part is consists grade 11 and 12, in which it wants students to develop a critical thinking, a greater flexibilities in subject choice, which the thing which I genuinely loves about the NEP. And the students could explore more life aspiration. It's happened sometimes a student of science wants to learn about the history, about Indian history, so he don't have any choice to read anything or to get to know more about it. So that's the thing which we are lacking. So by the implementation of NEP, we could choose subjects like physics, maths, history, geography, economics, physics. So this is the thing which is a very good part of it, and which the ECCE, the early childhood care and education, which was from age 3 to 6, focusing on cognitive and holistic development, which the student could focusing on more playing things and getting knowledge from practical aspects, which is developed by the NCERT, and The another part for the curriculum of senior secondary, here we are wants to make more prominent changes. The and also the in the older system, the focus was more on the content heavy rote learning, rigid subject divisions, but by the introduction of new system, the student will get a holistic development, experimental learning, critical thinking, interdisciplinary study. They could learn all the things by playing and activity based learning. So that's the more important thing. And also uh, government offers students multi exit and entry plans, because students who just left the college school in a grade 10 and they could easily join by in grade 11, and then they have something they should have to return or grade 11 and then they have to do the grade 12. But right now they could multiple exit and multiple entries are there. And the second most prominent thing is higher education reforms. The higher education reforms are basically to shift the education system from rigid academic solace to more flexible learner centric models, moving away from the content heavy instructions which I already told you. And there is a concept of ABC, which is basically means a academic bank of credit. And also they introduce a 4 year of undergraduate program. Basically in our times it's a 3 year course, but right now they have 4 years, in which the fourth year was basically focused more on the research and the practical aspects of their specific domain, which is very quite interesting, because even there the multiple exit and entry is still relevant, applicable in the higher educations too. Because the thing is because the thing is there are so many students in the rural areas, due to some financial issues they have to drop out from the colleges. If they want to again continue their studies, they had to start from day one, which is not good. So that's the reasons government introduced this aspect, by which after completing even a 1 year, the student can get enrolled in the second year, which is applicable even in the government colleges. But there is an issue how government would mm, curtain all the issues of those who just went out. Government had to do something, or just simplify the norms of it. In my way, I again stated, I'm going to stay. India is a direct attempt to revise the India historical brain drain position. It is a competitive global education destiny. Because we all know, if we want to become a Vishwaguru, we don't want our student to go somewhere else after completing a graduation from here, or something like for pursuing higher education. We don't want our students to go somewhere else to complete their studies. If they really wants to study in the universities of foreign countries, so what we will do, we will open the foreign universities here back in India also. Rather than going out, you just continue your studies here in India only. And the another prominent change about the teacher education development, the prominent change in the teacher education development here is the shifting from the old B.Ed 2 year course. They just make it 4 year course, by in which they, rather than, basically what's happens, I was in a Saint Soldier Divine Public School. It's an institute basically. There is institute college for B.Ed also, where we where students go and get 2 years degree, and they just have to write papers and papers, and that's it. They are well qualified teachers right now, so which is not correct way to become a teacher. Because if you want to become a teacher, you have to be a person who get a practical knowledge how to control a students and all and all. So basically we changed the curricular by which focusing more on the 4 year B.Ed courses, which is not which is only provided by the multidisciplinary universities or colleges. Because uh, right now it's about the a single institute, single threshold, single institute who is providing the B.Ed courses. There is not anything else. So also uh, shifting the way how they are getting assessed, and also how they practice. uh, the the practice would be more practical, by means like they should have assessment in the student filled classes, and also they had to give the tests, which is a practical test basically. And also had to create a focus knowledge more on aptitude and the pedagogical skills. And also they had to clear the test which is constructed by the NTA, and the demo classes, the interview for the appointment. And there is a very interesting thing which I love the most, is the 50 hours of CPD annually, national mission for the mentoring. The CPT is basically is a continuous professional development, because the teaching is very continuous process, because it isn't uh, what you taught in the back in the days of 2010. It will still going to relevant in the 2025. It's a continuous process, the world is evolving, so be the teaching skills. And also the very prominent thing is the vocational education and the skill development. Here is a very good change, I would say, the every kid would love, is the 10 days of bag free classes, in which they had to conduct classes with the carpenters, electricians. They could learn something apart from the theory and the theoretical aspects. They should learn some real life skills, because the education is the thing which can't help you if it isn't have a practical implications. So the government introduced some the vocational skills to be taught in the classes, which could be anything, but which is more focused towards the self employment. If a student who just drop out from the class 10th, he should have some knowledge about the real life. If he wants to earn something, he could do with the vocational skills. And also back in the days of about my father, I would say, there is a thing is ITI. So that the polytechnics and the ITIs are the thing which uh, already, even now, giving a very good courses which have a very practical importance in the real life. But about the theories like the arts background, it should be integrate with the vocational courses. There is a college in Delhi University, the vocational college it is. I don't know about the curricular and all, but it's very good to be a learner of a college which taught you something different from the traditional colleges and all. About the fifth development in the NEP, it would be the technology integrated. We all know how world is evolving, and we should do something about it. So that's the reason uh, Indian government introduced the Disha platform, and also other things which should be the success, in which the online platforms and the virtual labs depends entirely on universal reliable content connectivity and device accessible. The thing is, India wants its population to be a future ready, so that the reason we should get an upper hand on a technology. We should integrate and make our education policies more to the sideways or parallel to the technology development. But the thing is, the technology divide, the digital divide is the word, would be the issue here in the technology aspect and the technology integration in the education. Because a school in a Bihar who don't even have a facility of electricity, how could be a school well versed with the technology? We won't uh, hampering a student's uh, growth, and also are we stopping him to becoming someone he wants to aspire to. So there are the things which had to look for. And apart from all the things, the main point which in which we all are fighting with each other is the promotion of Indian language and multilingualism. So this is the thing. So government stating the till grade 5 it should be mandated the medium of instruction should be the home language. It could be a mother language, it could be a regional language, and which should extend to grade A. If there are some prominent developments, it could be extended furthermore. Here is the point about the Hindi. Governments want to introduce Hindi as a good way to promote the national integration. There should be a one language. It could be anything. It could be English also, if but the imposition of English from the British, and we all know they are not. Rather than choosing English, we should choose anything. The Mahatma Gandhi is introducing the Hindustani language, which is little different from the Hindi, which is more verse and more inclined toward the Farsi, and it's a amalgamation of Farsi and Hindi. But right now, the what Hindi we are studying, it's more centric towards the Sanskrit part. So here is basically focusing more on the development of Indian classical languages. It could be anything, and also India introduced a Indian sign language of offering the Sanskrit at all levels of education, which is the thing. While promoting mother tongue instruction is pedagogically sound for early learning, but it faces a practical challenges like the case we already seeing in our society about the KVs and all. The KVs will face very high probability of challenge, very high challenges for implementing the national education policy, because in KVs the students are from all around the nation. The service personnel, students, children are there, and those who are moving from one state to another. So basically the thing is, for them it's very hard to be on a page of impose, no, I would not say impose, I would say implementing the mother tongue, because the students who is moving from one place to another place, he don't have any mother tongue which is well suited in the cities, hubs like Delhi and the Mumbai, because for them the local languages are more common. Because the Delhi here right now in Delhi there is nothing called be a local language. Delhi people are speaking Hindi. There are people who are speaking Punjabi here, English too, and other are Haryanvi. That's the point. How we going to implement the language part of the national education policy. About the now we will discuss the opposition and the criticism of National Education Policy 2022. I would say this is the main point on which the all facade of the education policy is going on, about the centralization and the federalism concerns. Because if the states are going to agree on a policy which is only caters the center's interest and just overriding and overlooking the concerns of states, they are not going to willingly implement it. Because the states like those non-BJP states like Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, and also other states, here is a issue. After the implementation of national education policy, the things are the we all know the education is a concurrent is a part of a concurrent list, which the state and center both can make changes and have to discuss things all together. But here is, while moving the things, the center overlooks the interests and the points of the states, while while making the provisions and reforms in national education policies. Because there is an example similar to the vice chancellors of the universities. Right now the vice chancellors of the state universities is elected by the state government, but after the implementation of, there are chances the vice chancellor VCs were elected by the center directly and overriding the state people's elected state body, which is not fair, I would say. Which, or they are saying it is a clear-cut violation of a federal coalition, cooperative federalism, all the things they are want to say. And about the nation, and the second point about the language policy and Hindu position, for them is being, I don't know why people are very straightforward about the Hindi. Hindi is a thing, just learn it as a language. We don't, about not we, government do not want to be in a stage here it wants to impose a certain language. It could be here, if let's take our example of any southern part of India. Suppose Kannada is people in Bangalore is very cautious about their language. Let's, rather than imposing Hindi, let's implement Kannada as a third language. It would be very great example for the national integration. The main point is the national integration. The state wants to promote national integration by there should be one language a person could understand in right down in the Kanyakumari and up in the crown of the India and the JNK. But the thing is, people are not ready. The political parties are biased towards their political interests. They don't want to do anything. But the thing is, the point are we imposing Hindi? Question mark. If yes, we have to do something. If no, then state had to understand Hindi isn't a language which is creating a problem. They are the one who is actually creating the real issue. So about the privatization of commercialization, here is a thing. The Sonia Gandhi make a point about the privatization of the education, which shouldn't be done, because they are saying initially the grants, the money which is received by the universities are basically a grant like things, and right now it's changed to loan based things in which they had to I guess repay, I don't know about this, which will increase the fee of the tuition fees of the courses, which will be eventually going to hamper more common people of India. And also about the thing is, we are stating a point about the we will open campuses of other university foreign universities. How will we are going to do? They are not going to come here just for doing a social service. They are coming going to here in a vision to earn something. By this they will charge us higher tuition fees and all in a return of the things which should they are basically they are just famous for. And about the fourth point, I would say the funding shortfalls and the resource constraints. The biggest tragedy till now, it's the India from the back days of 1968 is saying we will invest 6% of GDP in education, but till now it didn't happen. So that's the thing. If the funding is not there, the all the hypothetical things would be going to rest on a paper. It's don't have any practical implementation if we didn't have funding to support the reforms and changes which the National Education Policy 2020 is contained. About the fifth point, I would say the, our India is ready for the changes which National Education Policy is required. What about the digital divide? What about the inadequate teachings, training and capacity building? What about the infrastructure deficiencies? There should be a clarity, uniformity and no resistance to change, because people are always resistant to change. If the school in Leh Ladakh don't have internet access, how a student of a Leh Ladakh Union Territory would compete with the student of Delhi, Mumbai, Odisha? So if the student don't have a proper infrastructure, even we would say don't have the shed for the classes, how he would be compete with the student somewhere sitting in a Dehradun Doon call school about all the things. But we had to do something. So let's discuss the positive outlooks right now. How, because it's been a 5 years after it's very long time after the implementation of National Education Policy. So there are some things like the foundational literacy is improved, as there is always a point of thing in the schools like, oh, schools of rural areas, the students can't even read, class 5th student can't even read the book of class 2, which is in by 2020 it was only 16.3% students are able to read grade of grade 3 could read the books of grade 2. And about the arithmetic processions, it was right now it is 27%, which was in 2022 is 20% only. And also increase in a gross enrollment ratio. India is doing something in it. India will get in it. So rather than focusing more on developing the technologies, I want India focusing more on the foundational things. And also there are some schools which already implemented the new education policies, the 5+3+3+4 structure, which is very good. And the footfall on the Disha platform is very nice, which is already over the 3.5 billion page views and 50 million users, which is very great number and very huge number, I would say. India should focus more on a digital divide. first fo- first cater this issue, then focus more on the other aspects. And about the what would the government will do about the national education policy. Right now there are only 16 states out of 28 who just implement. So here we have to do something. The vocational courses, don't, it should be just on a paper, on a ground, we don't see anything. We should do something about the funding shortfall. We already discussed about it. What should we do to fix all the issues? First of all, the foster the collaborative federalism. State center has to listen the state, because it's about the future of the students, it's about the future of India. Fix all the misunderstandings and come on a common page and contribute in India's society. And also ensure the points which are stated by the opposition about the privatization. We should be in a position where student can afford education in very affordable price, because by the core pillars it stated the affordability, accessibility. The thing is, we have to adhere all the principles which we already state for ourselves. And also at the end I would say, if we want to become a Vishwa Guru, first we have to say yes, we did mistakes, did mistakes, accept it, work on those mistakes, and become a person who would come as a all-around performer in the upcoming AI tech-driven society. So by this, I would say this is the end of our chat show. आज बात करके अच्छा लगा, तो बताना कैसा लगा ये वीडियो, लंबा भी बहुत हो गया है। अगर आपको कोई और टॉपिक पे डिस्कशन सुनना है तो आप कमेंट में डाल सकते हैं। बाय।